Good afternoon. As Parish President, I wanted to follow up on some questions that our previous post relative to the new waste disposal program has prompted. As you will recall, we did a video post with representatives from our new provider come January 1, 2022, which is Waste Connections. And since that time, we have received several questions which I believe necessitates a response. So I wanted to take a few minutes to address those questions that we have received and reemphasize certain components that are very important about our new waste disposal program that commences, again, January 1, 2022. Before doing so, let me again remind everyone that last week, Waste Connections mailed out a flyer that looks something like this, introducing the company and advising that they will be the new provider on January 1, 2022, talking about billing and other factors associated with the program. What I request that anyone do, if you do not receive this flyer by this Friday, you need to contact Waste Connections and let them know that you have not received a flyer. That will ensure that they have your name and address so that you will not experience any disruption in services when they take over. Their phone number is 337 area code 873-3982. Let me repeat that again, 337-873-3982. One quick disclaimer. At the bottom of the postcard, they indicate you can contact our website, St. Martin Parish Government's website, and obtain your service days. That's not quite correct. The specific routes and service days have not yet been developed by Waste Connection. That was a minor error. But by December, second week of December, those routes should be established, and at that time we will post it. And it's my understanding that Waste Connection will also be mailing out a follow-up postcard advising you of the routes. And if you remember from our previous post, there's also an app that you can download on your device that's going to give you your service routes too. Let me get to the specific questions now. One of the questions that we've received are from some of our citizens and relatives and neighbors in the municipalities. This program, sponsored by St. Martin Parish Government, it applies only to the unincorporated areas of the parish. It does not include municipalities, the cities, towns, and villages in our parish. They operate their own independent waste disposal program with different providers. So only if you live outside the incorporated limits will this new program affect you. Another question that we've had is, what if one or both of the Pelican containers are damaged? What prompts that question is the fact that Waste Connections will continue to collect from Pelican Containers, Pelican being our current provider. If you have a Pelican container right now that is damaged, you need to contact Pelican and get a replacement container. Do that immediately so that you can have that Pelican container up and running come January 1, 2022. So again, service will not be interrupted. If your container is damaged after January 1, 2022, contact Waste Connections for the replacement. Again, that's very important to understand that Waste Connections will be utilizing the Pelican containers to pick up your household waste. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a few moments. Another question that was asked addresses the fact that there's no curbside recycling. Specifically, the question is, since there's no curbside recycling, what should we do with the recyclable containers? Keep them. If you have the recyclable container, and everyone should have it, Waste Connections will pick up that container, the household waste. You can use it to put household waste in it. It's not just limited now to recycling, because we're not going to have the curbside recycling. And let me again remind everyone that a staple component of the new program is that each resident gets 2 containers. So the 2 containers you have now will be serviced by Waste Connections, period, no matter what. If one's damaged, Waste Connections will replace it if it's damaged after January 1, 2022. So you'll always have 2 containers. Which brings us to the question, what's the benefits of Waste Connections continuing to service the Pelican containers? Well, the most significant advantage is that the problems with the replacement of containers will be avoided during the transition period. If the residents will think back to July 2019, when our current provider took over, there were some issues that arose when one provider, the provider leaving, was having to pick up containers, and the new provider at that time coming in with containers. It really caused serious disruptions for several weeks. We're not going to have that problem, and I applaud Pelican, our current provider, and Waste Connections for coming together and negotiating a deal where Waste Connections will be purchasing the Pelican containers to avoid the transition issues. So it's going to make it a lot smoother. And there's obvious benefits to both Waste Connections and Pelican, and there's an advantage to the residents because, again, you eliminate problems with a transition, which are always inherent when you exchange containers. One question that I thought was important to be addressed is, why are there curbside services only once per week? There's a mistaken belief, apparently, that before July 2019, that there was twice weekly services, curbside services offered by St. Martin Parish. That is not true. The curbside services for household waste has always been once per week. One exception, Lower St. Martin, I think for a period of time, had twice weekly pickups, but for a very short time. Once per week household waste collection curbside is a standard part of all programs, I think, even in most of the municipalities. It's no more than once per week, and the cost factors are the reason why. Another question that has come to us is, why was the curbside recycling eliminated from the program? Well, there's many reasons. The primary one addresses the cost. Also, the participation rate, we believe, since 2019, when we started a real comprehensive recycling program, was minimal. And our research has further demonstrated that there was substantial contamination associated with recycled collections, which renders recycling impotent for all practical purposes. Contrary to some mistaken reports that I have seen in response to the previous post, with the provider before Pelican, before July 2019, there was practically no recyclable program. If you will recall, before 2019, recycling consisted only for paper placed in a small 18-gallon container. Very, 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 very few residents availed themselves of that service for obvious reasons. So, for those reasons that I just mentioned and many others, the parish elected to sponsor recycling centers, places located strategically throughout the parish to receive recyclables, as opposed to curbside recycling. I might also add that for parishes in our area, that is a standard policy, if there's even recycling. Some parishes don't even have it. I also think it's important when we look at curbside recycling or curbside household collections and recycling, that we understand the complexity of waste collection in rural areas of St. Martin Parish. Geographically, St. Martin Parish consists of 816 square miles. The land mass of our parish is 738 square miles. Let me put this in perspective for you. The square miles of land in Lafayette Parish, 269. Iberia, 574 square miles. St. Mary, 555 square miles. Contrast those with St. Martin Parish, 738 square miles. Moreover, our road system in this parish is immense. St. Martin Parish has 759 roads, which total 389.91 miles. So all of those roads have to be collected from, the residents that live on them. We have to have the curbside household waste collection. So it's a big contract. It's a big undertaking. And I haven't mentioned the many residents of our parish that live on state highways. So I hope everyone can put all this into perspective and understand that when we elect to develop and implement a waste disposal collection system, it's no easy undertaking. It takes a lot of work, a lot of cooperation with the various providers who seek to service us. Another question, where will the recyclable centers be located? We will have 3 of them in Upper St. Martin Parish. One will be in the Grand Bois area at the Grand Bois Fire Substation. The other one will be at the Cecilia Civic Center. The third one will be at the South Bourne. In Lower St. Martin Parish, the Recycle Center will be at Stevensville Park. Later on, we will provide you with the actual addresses. I also want to point out that the recyclable containers, the bins, if you will, that will be at these recycling centers will have special slots that will be identified. One will be for paper, one will be for plastic, one will be for cardboard and other recyclable materials. So you just can't put anything in them. And they're specially designed to receive only the type of material that is subject to recycling. We will also monitor those sites. They will be monitored 24/7. I guess another question that has really arisen is why or how do we go about to select Waste Connections? I kind of touched upon some of the qualities that the company brings to the table in our last post, but perhaps I didn't really explain the process as I should have. A request for proposal, RFP we call that, is a very involved process. We drew up parameters of what we wanted to see in a program, working with an independent consultant. In this case, it was Sellers and Associates who have done this in the past. We received the responses to those requests for proposal, the offers from various companies. 4 of them showed immense interest in doing business. And we evaluated each response based upon many, many factors. Price was one, of course. Other factors included the size of the company, whether the company had its own landfill, the resources, the reputation of the company. A lot of factors went into the process. And just to give you some example, this is the response that was submitted and evaluated from Waste Connections. These are the materials we looked at. So as we examined all of the responses, we were convinced that Waste Connections was the most advantageous program. I will also point out it was the cheapest price as well. Waste Management, for example, another company with a lot of resources, quoted us a price of $28.10 per month for only 1 container. Remember, we've got 2 containers now guaranteed throughout the life of our contract. Finally, Before the parish council and I agreed to put our signature on the dotted line of a contract with Waste Connection, we actually visited their facility to make sure that what they offered was indeed what they said they were going to offer in terms of resources. Finally, question said, why is the cost greater than what we're paying now? It's not greater, it's less. If you will recall, our current provider availed themselves of a CPI increase, and I think their current charges are $23.72 per month, which is more than what you will be paying with the Waste Connections program. So I hope I've answered most of the questions that our previous post prompted. If I have not, and other questions are received by the parish, I assure you we will respond to those questions. We want the public to have confidence that this new program is going to be extremely successful. We're working very hard. We're meeting many times per week with the new provider to make sure that our transition goes as smoothly as possible. Thank you.